Welcome back to Inside the Boardroom. Today, we're speaking with Mathew Wilson, the CEO of Sterling Metals, a Canadian explorer that's advancing two major copper projects. The first one being the 25,000-hectare Copper Road project in Ontario and the 29,000-hectare Adeline project in Labrador. Matt, thank you for being here on the show. I thought I'd kick things off by understanding why you're here in the first place. In my research, for the past few years, you haven't done much media. Why now? Why here?
Thanks, Rachel. It's great to be back doing some media. It has been a little bit of time. We took a pivot at Sterling at the end of 2023, which is a pretty long time ago now, and we didn't quite get the results that we wanted up in Labrador. We had this big sediment-hosted copper project, and at the end of the year, we entered into a transaction to purchase a project in Ontario, a copper porphyry potential project that we spent the last 15 months working on. We've taken 200,000 sheets of historical paper data, put it online. We've done a whole bunch of geophysics, a whole bunch of soil sampling, walked the property a lot, and basically did all the work, spent a couple $1 million doing all the work that no one really cares about in the market these days, but you kind of need to do to find a target and find something that's good. So we were quiet, we were going about our business, but we feel we have our ducks in a row now, and we think that we have pretty exciting targets to talk about, and we're going to start drilling in the next couple of weeks. So it seemed like the right time to, get back out there and tell the story. And I think it's a pretty exciting thing in the realm of junior exploration. It's
funny when you said couple of weeks, I thought, wait, March is that soon? And it is. It's just around the corner.
Yeah, we're literally starting to drill in the next 3-4 weeks. So it's going to be it's happening. The whole industry will start kind of pushing forward pretty soon.
Now, what are you aiming to accomplish here with this drill campaign?
So what we have is a very, very large 2.5 by 1.5 by 1.5 kilometer resistivity low anomaly that connects up to all this historical work, copper on surface, historical drill results where you have 350 meters of 0.15 copper, where every meter of it is copper mineralized in porphyry rocks, in mafic volcanics, like all the right kind of things that you want to find for a big porphyry system. Just no one had ever really drilled below 200 meters. Below this historic resource of 20 million tons of 0.2% copper and 0.05 moly. So what we're trying to do is take this geophysical survey, take this very large 4-kilometer soil anomaly, take this very large concept of a copper porphyry 20 minutes off of a highway, the Trans-Canada Highway, an hour north of the US border, and show that you can have a copper porphyry in Ontario that can have size and scale and grade, and you don't have to go to the top of the Andes to find it. So I think that it's one of those, it's very unique because there are no copper porphyries in Ontario. It's related to a copper system that surrounds Lake Superior called the Mid-Continent Rift, which has been 150 years of copper production. And it's our project is between two old mines too. It's bookended at 30 kilometers by these two old breccia mines or vein copper mines that produced in the 60s and 70s. And, there's one mine 10 kilometers from us that was doing, they produced 7 million tons at about 2.75% copper, but they were mining this 25% copper zone. And it was Teck doing it. And Teck drilled a historical resource there of 300 million tons of some backyard level copper, 0.15 copper. But this is an area that people have been interested in for a very long time. Phelps Dodge drilled here in the 60s. And so what we're trying to show is just, there's a classic adage in porphyry exploration is go where the majors are and drill a little bit deeper or drill a little bit more. And we're basically doing that. And the data we have shows that you kind of just have to do that. So that's the program, is trying to show that we have this large copper porphyry 20 minutes off the Trans-Canada that carries some sort of grade. So it's an exciting exploration target.
Why do you think it is that Canada, despite our resource potential, is lagging far behind in the international stage of what we can kind of produce and prove in terms of our metals?
So it's a great question, especially in today's context, right? I mean, you have such a change of macro environment. At first, it was like globalization for electric vehicles and electrification. Now it's protectionism and make sure that you have your critical resources, right? So I think that Canada gets stuck a little bit because we can't figure out which side we want to be on. And at the end of the day, there's not a lot of capital. And so you need a side, right? You need, like, the government's doing sort of an okay job of granting and making sure that things move forward. But, permitting is a pain. We have good tax tax plans and flow through financing is great for the most part. But yeah, I think it's just the uncertainty of how things go. It's like 20 years to build a mine. It should not be 20 years. Like, it just, that's nuts when you think about like the value of a dollar today. It could be literally zero in 20 years. So why would I put money into something that works that way? So I think that just all of those things, the certainty, the government support, and all those, it just creates hurdles for capital to jump into the space.
Moving on, what specific benefits do you expect your 10-to-1 share consolidation to deliver? You just announced it. In the press release, it said it's going to provide improved marketability. What is that, and what's beyond that?
I think that in our realm of junior exploration, there is something that we all do in Canada. It's not something that's done in Australia or in London, but in Canada, one of the first things we look at is share structure. And everyone, look at the CEO boards, look at Twitter, whatever social spectrum you're trying to get into. One of the things we love is share structure. We're hooked on it, right? Is that, like tight share structure equals good torque and yada yada. So we also don't trade at decimals of a penny here. We trade at we trade at half pennies and full pennies, and so to get liquidity is hard, and so to move your stock is hard. And for me, the rollback is about a reset going into an exciting event. I don't want new capital. And this is now a new story. Not very many people know the story. There hasn't been a discovery in it in the last iteration. So in this scenario, when you're attracting new investors, which you need to move your stock, should there be good drill results, the last thing I want is someone to be able to look at it and say, well, the share structure is messed up. And, there's 250 million shares out. So whatever. And so that unfortunately happens a lot. Not unfortunately, it's just our market. And I think that we are excited enough about this target that we would do this, because we approved at a shareholder meeting last August. And I had it in my head that there would be a possibility that we would do it. Should there be a reason to, and after this 15-month span of doing this work and putting our heads down and getting to these drill targets, I think that if it's almost one of those things, if it's worth it to do, then do it. And so I think that what it does is it sets up this story to really take off should we hit something of significance. I think that you have a story now with 25 million shares out. There's $1.5 million of cash. We're going to drill these holes. And I think that you're able, if your stock goes to $3, $4, $5, $6, which is the same as 30, 40, 56, 60 cents, right? Then you're opening up the Fidelities, you're opening up the McKenzies, you're opening up this entire institutional realm of capital, the US capital that wants dollar stocks. No US person wants 20-cent paper, right? They want it $10 paper or $5 paper, right? And so I think that it just opens up your options should you find something good. And I think that hopefully we do find something good, but I think it will pay off in the long run should that happen.
My last question, Matt, before you go is, we were talking about this, and it goes back to competition in an industry where it's very capital intensive and difficult to find new capital. What do you possess? What does Sterling Metals possess? Beyond team, beyond the properties, maybe it's about approach, but why Sterling Metals and why now?
Yeah, I think that we've kind of touched on it. So for me, you need scale, grade, infrastructure, jurisdiction, and team. And there's like 4 checkboxes. And I think that in venture capital, whether you're looking at a potential cancer cure or you're looking at a new tech startup, whatever it is that you're looking at in a venture business, you need scale. You need, if you have 5 customers, it's not going to be a very good business, right? So in mining, we find these things that are small, and mining is just very, very hard, right? It's very hard to access capital. It's very hard to build, permit. So you need something that's big enough that it makes sense to dig holes in the ground, right? So and so scale is really important. I use that 30-year mine life. So you need something that can be big and beyond 30 years. And then you need grade, so that if the macro fundamentals of copper, for example, if copper goes from 4 to 3, then your project still works, right? Don't shut it down because of that over the 30 years, right? Mm-hmm. So grade is your profit margin, scale is your NAV, and then where you are is very important because that's your risk, right? So if you're in a jurisdiction where someone can just take your project, that is not so good. If you're in a jurisdiction where it takes you, $10 million to just get there, and then, that was the hard part for us in Labrador. It was very expensive to explore. So as a junior, being somewhere that you can get to and you can spend money well, so your bang for your buck is high, I think that's really important. And then your team is so important, because like any industry, you know, if you don't have the right people, then how do you know if you're drilling the right thing? I mean, so I think that, you know, we have Neil O'Brien, who was the Senior VP of Exploration for Lundin Mining and instrumental in helping put the Vicuña district together, which is the best new copper porphyry district in the world. Jeremy Nemi has been great as our head of exploration. He's worked had numerous discoveries and purchases on his resume, and then myself and our chairman Mark Goodman, and I think that's the access to capital side. So you need to be able to access capital, find the right people to put money into things, and then have the right people to use that capital. So I think we check the boxes here. You know, it's on any given day a $7-8 million market cap. So I think that your upside here can be very high, because that's the key, right? So if it works, you want something that pays you back very, very well, and not something that just is a double or a triple. I don't think that really works in our space.
Well, I think this was a great starting conversation. There's definitely a ton more we can cover, so we'll have you back, Matt.
For sure.
That's Matt Wilson of Sterling Metals. You can find the company under the ticker symbol SAG on the Venture Exchange, or you can go to CEO.CA, search the same ticker symbol, and learn a lot more about what other investors are saying. Thanks for watching.